So I neglected to mention this earlier, but when you're making your bubbles, if you have a piece of foam that you can stick your wires in after you've put your bubbles on it, it keeps your bubbles nice and round, versus if you try to lay them flat to dry, you'll end up with flat sides. So all we're going to need for this is some white fondant. Now, you have a lot of options when it comes to bubbles. You can do gelatin, which Tammy Ellie has done before. You can do sugar if you're one of the brave. But for me, just for this little project, I actually find that the fondant bubbles are really cute, really simple, and they don't really overpower that beautiful sugared tear and how much effort we're going to be putting into our champagne bottle. So on top of our white fondant and our wire, I also have 3 of our ramekins, and I have our combination of disco and petal dusts. So I'm just going to put some dust into the bottom of each of these. And I will roll our little bubbles in it to give it some sparkle. There we go. Okay. So what we're going to do is, if we take our wire, now this isn't very heavy duty, and there's a reason for that. We don't want it to be. You really don't want it to kind of overpower the look of your cake. So we're not going to be able to make these as long as you might some others. So I'm going to cut this probably about 10 inches long. And I'm only probably going to cut maybe 6 or 7 of them, because a little bit goes a long way. And you can also cut some a little bit shorter, because you're going to want them different lengths. Now once that's done, if you go ahead and you pick one side of your wire, doesn't really matter which, you're going to be putting, like you would when you make a rose cone or another center for a flower, you're actually going to be putting a bend, and you're going to start by making one bend and kind of crimp it down. And we're actually going to do this a couple times. That's 2. And then I'm going to go ahead and do it one more time just to make sure we've got a nice something for our bubble to stick to. And in the end, you're going to have something that looks like that. And now what we're going to do is we're going to take a small amount of our fondant. Like I said, you don't want it to be too big, because if it's too heavy, it'll pull right off of your wire. And all you're going to do is, if you get your fondant nice and kind of warm in your hands, your luster dust should stick right to it. And unfortunately, this is discolored from what I was working with earlier. Here we go. Here we go. So we're just going to make a little ball about like that. And we're going to pick one and roll it in it. Now, if you're worried about it not being quite sparkly enough, you can use a very small amount of water. A little bit goes a long way, just to kind of make it sticky. And all I'm going to do is drop it in and roll it around.